We are talking pre-retirement, that all-important time period just before you retire, and we're going to talk about the age ranges there. And to help me, I've got one of ARP's best financial experts. Mary Liz Burns is joining us from Washington, D.C. Mary Liz, hi. And can you tell everyone what you do for ARP and what this pre-retirement campaign is?
Well, first of all, hi, Bruce. Thanks so much for having me, and hello to all your viewers. Yes, I'm here in Washington, D.C., and I've been with AARP for over 22 years. I can't believe that, actually. And I've been working on a variety of, budget issues, money issues, what keeps people up at night, how to maximize Social Security, things around your student loan debt, all those things that really are tough to talk about. I think about how do we communicate them? How do we have all of our publications and channels talk to consumers about these issues? And I run an ad council campaign called This is Pretirement that we're going to talk about today. So I love the idea of the term pre-retirement. A lot of folks, when we were talking about helping people save more for retirement, they would look at me and say, retirement? I have no idea when that's going to happen. It actually sounds like something completely out of reach. And so we said, well, what does it look like right now? You might be 10, 15, 20 years away from retirement. How do you see yourself? And a lot of people said, well, I'm trying to prepare for all the things I've got going on between family obligations. I'm mid-career. I want to keep working for a while longer. And I really need to start saving more for my financial future. Now, I'm not sure what to do. And so it really became a crowdsourced term of pre-retirement. Folks felt like that feels right. I'm not ready to retire, but I'm starting to think about retirement. I want to do it with confidence, and yet I'm a little scared. I don't know what to do, and I have a lot of fear that I haven't done the right things to date. And that's what this campaign is all about, giving you more confidence.
Yeah, I think a lot of people fall into maybe one of three camps. People who think, oh no, I haven't saved anything, or I'm going to be working until I die. Or then you have people who say, well, I'm going to retire at, 55 and live the good life. I'm all set. And then there's kind of a lot of us who are kind of in the middle of feeling like we've saved something, but we don't know for sure if it's enough or if we've done the right thing. So what can this pre-retirement, first of all, what are the ages that we're talking about? What's the age range that this means to you? And what are the sort of things that you're talking about in this pre-retirement concept?
Well, like you said, Bruce, there's no one only age when you're in retirement. If you decide you want to retire at 55, you may be 40 looking at this campaign, or even 35. If you're somebody that really wants to keep working, you might be a little bit older. But that sweet spot are people from in their 40s and 50s who are really about 10, 15, 20 years out from retirement. And what common sort of analogies across all these groups is that what pre-retirement campaign is trying to do is to say there's small steps that you can take today. Let's say you haven't done anything, and 1 in 5 adults have no retirement savings. But for people who have retirement savings, like 2/3 think they're going to outlive them. So this is pre-retirement gives you some concrete steps to take to try to start either building the savings or adding a little bit more. And it's not just about retirement savings when it comes to your pre-retirement or retirement. Maybe you have debt. Maybe to think about things like getting an emergency fund because there's going to be that refrigerator that breaks or that medical bill that you can't pay. And maybe it's about having those money conversations with your family to know how much more debt you can take on while you're also trying to save for retirement. We have a lot of tips and a lot of things that people can get for free on the website. And what I love about it is that on the website, you can take a quiz or build your own plan, all for free, and you get a personalized retirement savings action plan at the end of it. So it gives you some steps to take that you can do from anywhere.
So I want to talk a little more about the details, but why don't we tell people about the website and the online tools right now? What is the website and what will people find there?
So people can go and visit thisispretirement.org. And I know that it's a tough word, pretirement, not pre-retirement, but that whole pretirement sense, when you get onto the website, you feel like you're heard. And that's at least what we've tried to do. When you get on the website, it's not giving you a bunch of calculators in the beginning that folks fill out and then it tells you you're $1 million short or makes you feel like you just haven't done enough. It gives you a way to kind of either take this quiz that shows you like where you are. It doesn't take very long, like 5 to 10 minutes, or you can build your own plan. Decide that you want to talk about maximizing Social Security when you retire. Maybe you want to minimize debt and pay off credit cards. Maybe you think about building that emergency fund, or maybe you don't even have a budget. It gives you all these different steps that you can take so you can build a more, robust plan for yourself that feels more realistic. And that's what I love about it too.
So, what are the consequences of failing to kind of take this process, and what are the benefits?
A lot of people feel already that they're failing at managing retirement or getting ready for retirement. And one of the things that I'm big on, and this campaign does as well, is to remove that shame and fear. What happens is when you're afraid or you think you just haven't done enough, you end up putting your head in the sand because it's so much easier just to keep going on the same track of not doing anything, not doing enough, right? Or just not taking that first step. So, the consequences of not being aware of where you are financially is that you don't know where you're going if you're not aware. I think the idea is to first sit down and just look at your budget, kind of look at the income that's coming in and the expenses going out, especially if you don't have enough money to save for retirement. Figuring out where there might be even just a few dollars, kind of getting into the habit, I think is really important. And it makes you feel more motivated to try something more.
What do you think the barriers are to people taking on this process? I mean, outside of just being lazy and procrastinating, but it seems like I think people need to feel a little bit heard that they're not alone in not being eager to tackle this process.
We hear a lot from folks that they live either paycheck to paycheck or they don't even have a way to save on the job, which we talk about. Washington does a lot of this great work for like these small or medium sized employers that didn't have a way to save on the job. There's no 401k, 403b, IRA. You're asking folks to actually set something up. And that can be very difficult. Talk about a barrier to taking action. Where do I start? What am I investing in? How much am I saving? So I think at AARP and also with This is Pretirement, we talk about the options that may be available to you to consider. And I think those barriers are that you're on your own a lot of times when it comes to retirement and comes to retirement savings. And folks just really aren't sure where to start. So what I'd say is, first of all, just think about who can help. What are the options available to you? And even if you're not ready to start saving for retirement, maybe you've got some debt that's really hurting you. Maybe there's other things that are really taking a bite out of those paychecks coming home. If you are aware of where your money is going, there's ideas and plans for you on This is Pretirement that talk about your debt, that talk about other things that might be preventing you from saving for retirement. The key is small steps. 1%, 2%, $50. I mean, there are ways to at least get going. And I think that's what This is Pretirement does. It shows you how you can just get started.
Great, great. And I want to talk a little bit about some of those steps, but first I want to make it clear to people that we are not giving personal financial advice. This is advice in general for everyone. And you, for your own situation, should consult your own financial advisor. And I just want to make sure I've got the disclaimer here. Make sure I get it right. Consult your financial advisor for advice regarding your personal situation. All right, so let's make that clear. But having said that, what are some of the things that people generally should look at? I've heard maybe the first thing is to look at maximizing your retirement plan at work if your employer matches it, or if there's, tax savings, or maybe you could look at setting up a tax deferred account, or maybe you're not saving anything and the first thing is just to save something. What would you recommend as maybe one thing that people could do that they should look at to get started?
So the first thing we talk about, like where the money is going is that you need to have a budget. And I know the budget is kind of a scary word, and folks feel like, oh gosh, I don't have the time. How do I do a budget? But really, what I try to do is to say, look at your bank statement or your credit cards. Just first see like how much money is coming in every month and how much money is going out. And there really may be an opportunity there to think about not only the spending, but also where some of these leaks are that are happening with your money that could be diverted into either paying down more debt or maybe being able to divert it to more retirement savings. So the first thing I like to say is just to get aware, become more comfortable no matter where you are in that savings journey. And then the second thing is that once you kind of know where you are, consider like what is the thing that's keeping you up at night? I love for people to say they're going to save more for retirement, but maybe they have a student loan or a credit card or an auto loan or something else that's really keeping them up at night. It's becoming very difficult. Get a plan on how to tackle that kind of barrier that's really keeping you from being able to do the kind of goals that you have for your retirement. I think we have some good tips there, and AARP has a lot of content and a lot of other tools that can help on some of those things, especially on dealing with your debt.
Do you think that people need to get a financial advisor, or can they do this kind of planning themselves? How would you advise people to think about that?
This is pretirement.org doesn't substitute for a financial planner or a financial professional, but you don't need one in order to go to the website. It's something that's really helping you to kind of prime the pump, give you some ideas, give you some steps you can take. But many times people find that having a professional can really help them get a plan that feels very concrete with seeing how much they have in savings, how much they have in debt, how much income is coming in. And this tool, this is Pretirement, doesn't ask you for a lot of personal information. It's meant to be that kind of friend to you, kind of giving you some good tips. But a financial professional, first of all, look for a fiduciary. And what that means is somebody that's acting in your own interests, not somebody that's getting paid by commissions that kind of help to sell you products that maybe you do or do not need and cost more money. But you can find a fiduciary who either is like making a financial plan for you, could be paid maybe just by the hour to give you a plan. And especially if you're really stuck and you have maybe a partner or even by yourself, you want to really get a good roadmap. And that's what a financial planner can do for you. They also can help you manage money and do other things that are necessary. And what I find, especially in our age group, if people have any kind of inheritance or they need some long-term care insurance or they're thinking about student loan debt, they're really trying to figure out where all this money is going, a financial professional can help you get everything in the right rearview mirror.
Now, I know when we've talked before, and this is not the first time that we've talked like this, so I just want to ask you about some of the things that we talked about in that previous conversation, and that's all the tools that AARP has to manage your finances and to help set you up to live the life that you want. Could you just give people a little taste of what else is available from AARP beyond the pre-retirement concept?
I'm happy to, Bruce. Thanks so much for asking. So AARP has a variety of free tools and calculators that you can find in one place, aarp.org/moneytools, all one phrase. So the few I'm going to mention that are like the most popular and the ones that everyone really loves, we do have a retirement calculator, and that will kind of show you the number of years, that you say until you're going to retire. It will ask you basically how much you have in savings, and it will give you kind of a formula that kind of show how close or how far away are you from your goals. Again, everybody is different. While I love calculators, sometimes people again get paralyzed. So we have some great tips at the end of the calculator to help you kind of think about some action steps you can take. We also have a Social Security benefits calculator that helps you figure out when's the best age to claim your Social Security benefits. For many people, Social Security is the biggest source of guaranteed retirement income. Deciding what age you're going to claim Social Security can be the most important decision you make for yourself, and if you're married, also for your spouse. Then we've got a couple other calculators and tools called AARP Money Map and the Savvy Student Loan Repayment Tool. 20% of people 50 plus still have student loan debt. And unfortunately, your Social Security wages can be garnished for federal student loan payments. So a lot of people really are worried about student loan debt. We have some great options to try to look at income forgiveness or repayment options. And last, ARP Money Map. Let's say you want to build a budget. Let's say you want to look at all your debts in one place. Let's say you want to figure out how to build an emergency account. ARP Money Map can do all of that. And again, it's for free.
Yeah, there's just a real suite of tools, and I know a lot of people, that I talk to, and maybe I fall into this category myself a little bit, is, oh well, it'll work out, or I'll worry about that tomorrow. But when is the best time to start planning for retirement financially?
We say both. It's never too late and never too early, which doesn't maybe help all your viewers there, but it's never too late. And I want to really stress that one. When folks feel like they're 55, 60, 65, they feel like, I didn't do enough. It's just impossible. Everybody, thinks to themselves, I'm just going to keep working until I drop. And the challenge is, Bruce and I, about age discriminations out there, the way that our industries are running. Like, you can't count on and your own health. You can't count on always working as your retirement plan. That isn't a retirement plan. But it is never too late to at least do something. If you're over 50 and you have a place to save on the job, you can increase your savings. You can also minimize your debt. It's also never too young, because let compound interest work for you. You save a little bit when you're younger and watch it grow and grow and grow. I mean, these markets, even though we have the cycles and people get worried about it, it's really important to know that our markets have always rebounded in the last 100 years. And folks are really seeing that if they keep the money where it is, monitor it, but keep it where it is, it continues to grow. So I think the key is that it's never too early, never too late, and folks should be looking at their money and what they're doing at least annually. Take a checkup. Do it if you're married, do it with your wife or your husband. Have those conversations with your kids. Talking about money is one of the biggest taboos we have. And I think that the work that ARP does and this Ad Council campaign is trying to take away that fear and show there's small steps you can take to at least get yourself on track.
So is this pre-retirement idea, is this a new thing? I had not heard of it before.
ARP doesn't own the term pre-retirement, from our legal counsel, but it is a term that not a lot of people use. You hear pre-retirement, but what I loved about pre-retirement is that you really feel like you're in this mode. It's like retirement still is not clear for you, but you're in this stage that kind of gives you a little bit more wingspan. It's like, what does retirement look like to me? I don't have a date yet, but I really want to think about what I want to do. And it might include work, which is fantastic for some people, but it also might mean I want to live near my kids, or I want to start a new business, or I want to just volunteer, all those things. In pre-retirement, it makes you feel like there's possibilities. And I think that's what, the whole campaign is about. We're trying to really socialize that term, get more people to use it. I think it's really inspiring, and that's what folks have told us who've been watching this campaign.
Okay, well, I think people are going to be inspired. I'm kind of inspired to take a little look as well, although it's tax time coming up, so I got to deal with that first.
Right, you do, Bruce.
Yeah, I know. You can't avoid that one.
No.
So give us the website one more time and just tell people what you would recommend that they look at first when they get there.
So please visit thisispretirement.org. In just a few minutes, you can take a quiz, build your own action plan, and it's all for free. What I would recommend are two things. One is, please don't lose hope. Please don't be ashamed or fearful about what you have or have not done. And the second thing is, just pick a goal. Maybe it hopefully is to save a little bit more for retirement. Look at maybe if you get a raise or you have a little bit of a windfall or something, put a little bit of money aside for retirement. Hopefully you can on the job. And if not, get rid of the debt, get rid of something else that's keeping you from making sure you can save for retirement so that you have what you want as you get older and you feel like you've got more than just Social Security. It's a plan for you to be able to have a little bit more so you have more possibilities.
Okay, well, thank you very much. You have given us a lot to think about. I also want to remind people of the arp.org/money tools. Check that out as well. Is there anything I haven't asked you, anything we haven't talked about that you think is important that you want to leave people with?
I think that folks know that, retirement savings is really important. And of course, they need to think about it. But sometimes that just seems too much. I really think that it is important to think about all those other aspects. And we talked about it, but not waiting to think about when you're going to claim Social Security is not something I would advise. Like, really start to think about Social Security as part of your retirement package because that income is guaranteed income, and folks are really trying to figure out how much will it cover your everyday expenses in retirement, and knowing how much more you may need to save in order to make sure that you can get those everyday expenses paid for. So I would say you really need to think about when to claim Social Security. That's a really important decision. We have a lot of resources to help.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to put the link to the Pretirement page in the video description. It'll be up on Facebook, down on YouTube. So be sure and check that out. Mary Liz Burns, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. And this has been very, very good advice for me and I think for a lot of other people. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Bruce, for having me.